Christine, how much does it hurt the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out?
It is devastating to the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out.
Now, I know a lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said, one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion. But
has any single athlete ever held an entire professional sports league hostage? It's a question that sounds like an exaggeration, but right now, it's the devastating reality for the WNBA. When one player gets injured and more than half of the entire league's television audience vanishes overnight, you're not just looking at a dip in ratings, you're witnessing a complete financial freefall, an empire crumbling in real time. The Caitlin Clark effect was supposed to save the WNBA. Instead, her absence has exposed a catastrophic truth. The league has learned absolutely nothing about protecting the one person who single-handedly dragged it from obscurity into the national spotlight. This is the story of how a league continues to shoot itself in the foot, watching helplessly as their golden goose lies injured, and how their stubborn refusal to face reality is costing them millions of dollars with every passing day.
And the truth is the truth, and the data is there. And what we saw when Caitlin was out the last time, the 5 games that she missed earlier in the season, the WNBA's viewership dropped more than 50%. Not just the Fever, but the entire league.
The numbers are not just bad, they are apocalyptic. When Caitlin Clark was sidelined, first with a quad injury and now with a groin issue, the foundation of the WNBA's newfound popularity simply evaporated. Nationally televised viewership plummeted by a staggering 55%. Games featuring the Indiana Fever, which had been averaging a massive 1.8 million viewers, nosedived to just 847,000 without her on the court. The financial bleeding was even more immediate. Ticket prices for Fever games crashed by an average of 71%. The highly anticipated rematch between the Fever and the Chicago Sky, a game that previously drew over 2.25 million viewers, saw ticket prices collapse from $210 to just $95. Venues that had been moved to larger arenas to accommodate the tidal wave of demand for Clark were suddenly struggling to fill seats. This wasn't just a slump, it was a clear and brutal message from the market. The fans weren't there for the WNBA. They were there for Caitlin Clark. But these numbers are just a symptom of a much deeper, more self-inflicted problem.
quad injury jumped to her groin likely because of compensation. But the thing that you have to be careful of is if, say, you try to rush her back from this injury as well, then you're getting into this territory where a very serious injury can happen. That is what the Indiana Fever, that is what Caitlin need to avoid the best that they possibly can. So if it means that Caitlin is out for 3 weeks, if it means that she is out all the way through All-Star, then so be it.
This crisis was not an accident. It was an inevitability born from the league's own stunning inaction. While Clark was breaking records and generating unprecedented revenue, the WNBA did absolutely nothing to protect its most valuable asset. They allowed opponents to target her with a level of physicality that often crossed the line from competitive to dangerous. Of the 30 flagrant fouls called in the league this season, 5 were committed against Clark. It became a pattern. A hard foul, a cheap shot, and the league response that amounted to little more than a shrug and a lecture about basketball plays. They had a player responsible for over 26% of all WNBA economic activity, and they let her become a walking target. It's like watching a restaurant owner allow rowdy customers to harass the star chef whose cooking is the only reason people are lining up outside. The league failed to protect its golden goose, and now the entire farm is facing foreclosure. And the league's silence on the matter spoke volumes, forcing fans to take matters into their own hands.
Clark went down. The WNBA ratings have dropped over 55% across the board.
Hey, guess what, guys?
The league is Caitlin Clark.
The league is Caitlin Clark. She is the WNBA, guys.
Sidelined with a left quad strain May 24th, national TV viewership has plunged since then 55%. Before the injury, Fever, her team, were averaging 1.81 million viewers, almost 2 million. Since her injury, fewer than 850,000.
What the WNBA failed to understand is that the audience Clark brought with her is fiercely loyal, not just to her, but to the idea of fair play. When they saw her repeatedly targeted without consequence, they didn't just change the channel, they revolted. A significant portion of the viewership collapse isn't just because Clark isn't playing, it's an active boycott. Fans are refusing to give their viewership to any other team or player, disgusted by what they see as a toxic mix of jealousy from other players and incompetence from the league office. They feel betrayed. They were sold a story of a transcendent talent elevating women's basketball, but what they witnessed felt more like a concerted effort to tear her down. This has created a massive credibility problem. When your own fans no longer trust the competitive integrity of your games, you're dealing with a crisis that goes far beyond ratings. And this growing distrust couldn't come in a worse time, as the entire financial future of the league hangs in the balance.
News is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA. At the end of this season, the WNBA will go into CBA negotiations. If negotiations go well, then every single player in the WNBA has a much better chance of making so much more in their next contract. And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin Clark and how they have treated her fans.
The timing of this collapse is a strategic nightmare for the players. At the end of this season, the WNBA will enter into crucial collective bargaining agreement negotiations. A strong year driven by the Clark phenomenon would have given the players immense leverage to demand higher salaries and better conditions. Instead, the league's veterans are handing the owners the perfect weapon to use against them. The executives can now walk into negotiations, point to the 55% viewership crash, and ask a devastatingly simple question. Why should we give you a massive pay raise when your entire league's value disappears the moment one 22-year-old gets hurt? The very players who seem to resent Clark's spotlight have actively participated in sabotaging their own financial futures. It's a level of self-destruction that is truly mind-boggling, and it highlights a level of institutional failure that would be unthinkable in any other major professional sport.
What's really concerning about this is the fact that we are only a month into the regular season, and Caitlin Clark has already been out with 2 injuries. With the first one being her having to miss some time with a left quad strain. Now, of course, this is concerning because if you're already on your second injury, you don't want to be that player that is always hurt. Cough, cough, Embiid, cough, cough, Anthony Davis. So I really do hope that the fever really sits her out right now for a while, only because you don't want her to have more long-term injuries and be more prone to.
The WNBA's handling of its superstar stands in stark, embarrassing contrast to how other professional leagues operate. Can you imagine the NBA allowing a team to spend weeks openly targeting LeBron James with dirty plays, all while the league commissioner claims it's just part of the game? The league would shut it down immediately, issuing fines and suspensions so fast it would make headlines. Professional leagues protect their stars because they understand a simple truth. Stars are the engines of revenue and growth. But the WNBA seems caught in a state of denial, wanting to be taken seriously as a professional organization while simultaneously embracing the kind of petty, manufactured drama that might generate a few angry clicks on social media. You can't have it both ways. You either maintain competitive integrity and protect your biggest draws, or you devolve into a high school drama club and hope someone pays attention. The WNBA chose the latter, and now they're paying the price. But the damage goes far beyond boardrooms and balance sheets. It's hitting the WNBA where it hurts most, its future.
Man, bruh. Congratulations to the WNBA. Your ratings are going to drop by 55 to 60% once again. I believe the WNBA has successfully broken Caitlin Clark.
Beyond the plunging ratings and collapsing ticket prices, there is a more tragic, unseen consequence. The Caitlin Clark effect wasn't just about adults tuning in. It was about thousands of kids packing into arenas wearing her jersey and seeing a hero. It was parents bringing their daughters and sons to witness a phenomenon. This was the next generation of fans, the future lifeblood of the league being created right before their eyes. But what did they see? They saw their hero get repeatedly knocked down. They saw a league that seemed came to punish her for her own popularity. The WNBA wasn't just mismanaging an asset, it was destroying the very magic it should have been bottling and selling. They were alienating the most important demographic of all, the kids who would have grown up to be lifelong fans. It all leads to a single devastating question that the league seems unwilling to answer.
As big a deal as Tiger was in men's golf, Keith, he did, and when he was gone, it affected the ratings, but nothing like that. And, Michael Jordan being out, maybe a 5 percentage points or something. Nothing like this. You can make a strong case, and I will make that case, and have that there is no one single athlete more important to his or her sport or tour or whatever the circuit is that they play on than Caitlin Clark is to the WNBA.
In the end, Caitlin Clark's injury has exposed the WNBA for what it is, a fragile house of cards built entirely on the shoulders of one rookie. The moment she stepped away, the entire structure collapsed. The league was given a once-in-a-generation opportunity, a tidal wave of popularity that could have lifted the entire sport to new heights. Instead, they allowed jealousy, petty politics, and a stunning lack of foresight to poison the well. The return to empty seats and irrelevant games isn't just a temporary setback. It's a harsh reminder of what the league was before Clark arrived and what it will become again if they refuse to change. The question is no longer whether Caitlin Clark is valuable. The 55% drop in viewership answered that. The real question is whether the WNBA will finally learn to protect its most precious asset, or whether they'll continue this destructive pattern until they've completely squandered the greatest gift they've ever been given. Based on everything we've seen so far, the smart money isn't on the league suddenly developing common sense.